Hey, Adam Taxin here in beautiful Bonita Springs, Florida, with Rabbi Mendy Greenberg again. I think the title of this Facebook Live says it all, so let's get right into it. And Jews are complaining again.
You ever heard of a Jew complaining?
Yeah. Even non-Jews have heard of Jews complaining. No doubt.
The reason why we complain is there's a lot of faith, and faith gets challenged. And this is where it was challenged. The Jewish people challenged God, and God showed them that the Manna could come down and prove us where livelihood really comes from. And it's interesting that tomorrow we're going to read about the Manna as well. And it speaks about the Manna not falling on Shabbos. So we see that there's a juxtaposition of these two ideas. But the Manna itself, that fell down, it speaks about a different Parsha, where it speaks about taking, or tomorrow's Parsha actually, it speaks about taking a certain part of the Manna and passing it down for generations. This was in the time of Jeremiah. He showed them that piece of Manna, which was many years later, and told them that God...
Long before Twinkies.
If God could provide the Jewish people then, He could provide for us now as well. Stop the Kvetching.
You didn't get my joke, did you?
I never heard
Twinkies probably could last for several generations because there's so many chemicals in them. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Okay, the Twinkies. So the Manna were the first Twinkies. Now the Manna taught the Jewish people that although we work hard for a living, but at the same time we realize where the livelihood comes from. Which brings me to a story that I said last week about the Shabbos, since we spoke about how the Manna didn't fall on Shabbos, because there was also part of the test letting us know that who's in charge once a week, where we see clearly who's in charge, because we're not working and the livelihood comes in anyways. There's a story that I heard once about a person that came to see someone in his office and asked him to put on tefillin, and he gave him, as usual, when we go to see people and put on tefillin, if the excuse is they don't have time, they'll spend 15 minutes telling you why they don't have time to put on tefillin. That takes 1 minute. So he said he has no time, he's very busy, he's extremely busy. So this rabbinical student told him, well, I'm going to tell you a story. Story there's always time for. So he tells him a story of a doctor, just graduated medical school, opened the practice, and advertised, but he wasn't getting any bites. So he was complaining to an old colleague of his, who was an experienced doctor, had many patients. He told him his predicament, so he told him, you know what, I'll help you out. I'll send you some of my patients. But do me a favor, book them all for one time. Take a Tuesday, 11 o'clock, or whatever time you decide, and book them all at the same time. This way, whoever walks into the waiting room will see, wow, this is an experienced doctor. This is a doctor in demand. And this way you'll build up your business. So he thanks him profusely, and he gets the calls from these patients, schedules it for 11 o'clock on Tuesday, and the place is hustling and bustling. Looks like the most popular doctor in town. And he's extremely busy, of course, but then in the middle he gets a call from his old colleague, Dr. Cohen. And his secretary picks up, and she goes to this young doctor, and she says, Dr. Cohen's on the phone. He says to his secretary, can't you see how busy I am? Tell him I'm busy. So she picks up the phone and tells Dr. Cohen that your young colleague says he would love to pick up the phone, but he's extremely busy. So he told the secretary, please tell the young doctor, don't forget who made you busy. And this is sometimes when we think about the Manna, it's something that we remember. It's associated with livelihood, because yes, we work hard for a living. It doesn't come easy. It doesn't come without effort. But we have to realize where the blessing is coming from. Who's giving us the ability to have the strength, to have the time and the success in the business. It's all coming, of course, from Hashem. And when we take off that 1 day a week for Shabbos, we acknowledge that. Whenever we eat food, the idea of benching, of saying the grace after meals, that came directly from the Manna. Moses instituted the first blessing, Hasanas Olam Kol Tova, that blessing that many people know, the first blessing, the grace after meals. That was instituted directly by Moses in thanking Hashem for the Manna.
I want to add one thing. You may hear some background noise. It's actually Hebrew, and I like that. I didn't even want to avoid it, because in an ideal world, a synagogue, we just finished the morning prayers, is a dynamic place. and you went to a formal Jewish education, which I did not, was always very loud in the study hall, I imagine.
Extremely loud.
And so I wanted you to get the sense of that. Hopefully you could hear what we were saying okay.
The louder it was, it's called the Kol Torah, the voice of Torah, and it can never disrupt anybody's train of thought.
Yeah, there are a lot of empty synagogues in Europe these days, empty churches too, for that matter. But hey, take care. Okay, you're going to hear a lot less Hebrew in the background in a second. I want to add one other thing, just because this has never happened to me. At some point in my life, when this week in the Torah is going on, I want to be invited to a Shabbos dinner where they're actually serving quail. We didn't talk about quail. Maybe you can say a word about that. You're not serving quail tomorrow night, are you?
We won't be serving quail,
okay.
And there are many different types of quail, so it's very important to know which one you are consuming.
Have you ever eaten quail?
I'm not even sure if there is quail on the kosher market available.
Maybe in Israel or something? Or
possibly. I've never...
New York? Brooklyn, I guess, would be the place.
I guess if there would be a place that has it, it'd probably be Brooklyn.
Yeah. So you just can't get
Bonita
quail.
Springs, it's not available for sale yet.
Yeah, the eagles around here probably eat them all anyway.
Most probably. A lot of quails in this area, actually. A lot of the places are named Quail.
Are there?
Yeah, Quail West.
A lot of predator
quail.
Birds, though. They're known for that. I think there's a golf course near where my parents stay where it's named after raptors. So
Raptor Bay, huh?
Yeah, Raptor Bay. Any final thoughts on today's reading? Hopefully we can do this tomorrow, and there's some exciting stuff coming. Give us a sneak preview of the next two parts of Parsha Beshalach. It's pretty dramatic stuff.
It continues with the Manna. It goes on to Miriam.
Yep.
We're speaking about
Moses' sister.
we spoke about yesterday. Speaks about Shabbos, of course. This is
Shabbos.
where the Jewish people are introduced to Shabbos.
Not of course. People don't necessarily
in tomorrow's reading, of course, because I mentioned it earlier.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. I have to drink this coffee fast.
But it ends off with speaking about the story of Amalek, which will...
That's a big deal. Google Amalek, and you'll be ready for us tomorrow. I'm bringing that up because we're not doing this on Saturday, obviously.
We won't be able to do it on Saturday.
Yeah, we're talking
we'll
Amalek
speak about
tomorrow.
it live here, and then every other synagogue across the country.
All right.
But tomorrow we'll try to discuss a little bit about it.
And Amalek comes back in a month when we have Purim.
today.
Yeah. So if you have any comments or questions about Amalek, get them in today. We'll try to bring them in tomorrow. Rabbi Greenberg, thanks again for your time.
A very successful day to everyone.